What type of out-of-body experience is better? Those in which we are lucid since the separation from the body, or those in which we gain lucidity when we are already projected? Well, today we are going to talk about the pros and cons of each of those. Hi, thank you for being with me. Here we talk about how to take control of our personal evolution, both spiritually and here in this lifetime. So today the topic is astral projection. But for those of you who are with me for the first time, please let me mention that I publish videos in different languages, but every week I have a video in English. So please just keep an eye for those that have the thumbnail with the text in purple. Those are English. Well, now regarding the pros and cons of having an astral projection in which we are lucid since we are inside of the body and feel completely the separation, then there are quite some interesting aspects here. The first thing that I would like to mention or call your attention to is that most of the techniques that exist out there are for this type of projection. Of course, then they aim to help us to consciously, at will, detach from our physical body. But there are lots of challenges. Why? Because if I start from the cons then, because in this case, this type of experience somehow require that we have a very perfect condition in terms of our physical relaxation, in terms of our energies or how loose our energies are, in terms of our focus, in terms of how relaxed in a way our brain is. And also in this case, sometimes it produces more fear. Why does it produce more fear? Because it challenges our instincts. We are sensing something that is completely out of the ordinary. On the other hand, sometimes when we are in this type of experience, we have the possibility of sensing who, in terms of non-physical presences, would be or were around at the time. Of course, there can be some not so balanced ones, but usually we end up sensing like a mentor helping us to leave the body. It's a possibility, it does not mean it is going to always happen, but when this is the case, it also challenges us a little. So it's a wonderful experience that shows so many aspects to us, but the challenge of it and the aspects of being more frightened or not knowing how to handle the sensations, getting distracted with the sensations, we start feeling the disconnection and we try to push. Sometimes we try to push to get out too soon, or sometimes we end up doing it in a way that was not the way that we were really getting out. So it's delicate, it's complex. Sometimes we do it and it goes so easily, but other times we can take long time that demotivates people. Now, what are the pros? Well, I think the strongest one is the condition or the fact that we are more certain that we had an out-of-body experience. It's not uncommon that sometimes we wake up in the morning and we have a recollection of something, but we kind of get in doubt about if that was really an out-of-body experience or if that was a dream. So in this case, this is eliminated. Also, this type of experience helps us to get a more clear chronology of the process, so we know what happened first, what we felt, why we got to some place or how. So this gives us much easier way of making sense of the experience. And more than that, also, we learn a lot. We learn a lot about how we connect to this physical body. We learn a lot about the energies, the subtle energies, the energies of our energy body that forms our silver cord, and how we sense them, which parts of them are more loose, which are more blocked. So it's great learning to be able to have one of these experiences. Even if we are not far from the body, we end up not going far from the body, still very much worth to have it, even if partially only. And what about the experience when we wake up or get lucidity when we are already outside the body? Well, let's talk about the cons. Number one is that it is much harder to remember, simply because after the projection, usually we have other dreams, we have other experiences. Sometimes we come back to the body immediately, sometimes we don't. So when we wake up in the morning and we remember what happened, it kind of get a little confusing. You know, when we have an experience and we are not so sure if that was a dream or a real astral projection. So it tends to happen more in cases like this. And of course, another logical conclusion is that interpretation of the experience may be harder. I say maybe, and I'm saying this because this is what's most common, but there are cases, of course, in which we have an experience that just started when we were already projected, our lucidity, but we remember everything, we act completely lucid, we come back to the body with perfect recollection. But the two great pros of this type of experience are that, number one, it's much more common. In a way, it's easier because we do not have to face all of the challenges of seeing the process of the disconnection and all of the distractions and different sensations that can happen. And it tends to be less frightening for most people. So this is key. Now, let me remind you that there are techniques that are specifically to produce this type of projection. There are several. One of them that I have already taught here in the channel is transforming a lucid dream into an out-of-body experience. If you are interested, I'm going to link here so you can find it, okay? And I hope that helps you to figure out your experience and choose what's the best technique or best method for you. Thank you very much for being with me.